thing, but then you can't see what's going on.
Hey everybody, it's John Hope Bryant, and we are live. It's me and my friend Brad Dinsmore of SunTrust Banks, and the connection is not as good as I wanted, but this is such an important announcement. I may do it twice, so I'm going to try it now because I'm just so excited about this. And John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Operation Hope. Hey, is that Debisha? Dwyer signing on. I see you there. John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, CEO of Operation Hope, and author of the book, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, Rebuilding the Path of the Middle Class, and Love Leadership, The New Way of Leading in a Fear-Based World, Banking on Our Future, also a primer for financial literacy for children and families. And I got to say all those titles because I don't have nearly as much money as credibility as this guy does. This is Brad Dinsmore. Hey, Raquel signing on. This is Brad Dinsmore, who is the head of branch banking for all of SunTrust banks. That's 1,500 branches, right?
Well, it is, and credit is Debbie Crowder, who actually runs everything. I just get to talk about all the good things that she does. But I take care of consumer banking at SunTrust, and that represents more than 4 million clients.
He's a big baller. that means he's got.
I used to have skills.
Yeah, look, we're talking about you're the 10th largest bank in America. What's the asset size?
Close to 200 billion now.
$200 billion. That's a lot of moolah. So, look, we are proud to be partners with SunTrust. This is a good guy. I've known him for 25 years, which means I met him when I was 2. And he's got, how do you say that? How many children? Is it quadruplets?
It's quadruplets, yeah.
Quadruplets. So he's not only a great banker, he's got incredible stamina and great genes. He's got 4 kids going through college at the same time. It's unbelievable. he's like the I don't know, the Matt Damon of banking or something. It's unbelievable. So obviously we're also friends. So I see everybody signing on. SunTrust sponsored my son at 316 Racing. That's David Sims says that.
Oh, that's awesome.
You're an example of how to handle business, talk and work with decision makers. That's Kevin Shane. Thank you very much. So folks are signing on. I want to give people a chance to sign on. I see you're about there. Claudia Rivera, good morning. Good afternoon to you. So Claudio, I think I got that name wrong. Claudio. So now we're going to jump into this announcement, and then we will take some of your questions a little later. Hello from Cape Town, South Africa. Brandon. Some folks around the country and around the world.
Great.
So Bill Rogers at SunTrust on my board, great guy. Jim Wells, former SunTrust CEO. Susan Johnson, head of marketing. Debbie Crowder, who's in chat, works with Brad on branch banking. Dr. Anita Ward on my team. Lance Triggs. All these heroes and sheroes have been working behind the scenes to do something really, really special. And I've succeeded in doing the impossible, keeping my mouth shut. Brad said, can you please keep your mouth shut one time? Just one time. Don't say something in advance. So I'm so excited about this. I'm proud today. Good morning, Dominique, signing in. I'm proud to say this morning we've got the biggest announcement of Operation Hope's history with regard to our Project 5117 mission and our movement to start really a new Marshall Plan in this country, to redouble our efforts, to create entrepreneurs in public schools, to find a light, the new way to financial well-being, which is their mantra here at SunTrust for adults. I told Brad and I told Bill and Jim here that I was going to become their new Coca-Cola. For those who don't know this, the bank that banked and found Coca-Cola is SunTrust Banks. In fact, they had Coca-Cola's formula in their vaults until very recently, right?
About 3 years ago.
And until 3 years ago, the formula for the Coca-Cola magic sauce, if you will, was in the vault for SunTrust. So there, for 100+ years, SunTrust has nurtured this one brand, and now they're helping to nurture another. So you're saying, John, what's the announcement? What's the big deal? Here it is. For the first time in modern banking history, modern corporate history, a major corporation has used its infrastructure and its scale to lift up a company, a nonprofit, a mission for social good. We're announcing today that SunTrust is putting 200 locations. Did you hear that? 200 Hope Inside locations inside of SunTrust branches across this country by 2020 to finish what the Freedman's Bank started with Abraham Lincoln and really Frederick Douglass in 1865. A bank chartered back then to teach free slaves about money. Unfortunately, Lincoln was killed in April of that year. And you've all heard me tell this story that 100 years later, Dr. King comes along in this city of Atlanta, and his daddy, Daddy King, who was a capitalist who served on the board of a bank. Nobody knows this. Daddy King served on the board of Citizens Trust Bank for 40 years. So
I know because you told me the story.
That's right. And by the way, I've decided to make Brad an honorary black man. I just think he's that cool. And you do 200 branches, you become an honorary brother. I don't care what anybody
Is
says.
there like an initiation or anything I have to go through?
Yeah, 200 branches.
Okay, all right.
So, and you can write me.
So I got to wait a few years then.
No.
I
You
can't
can write the check right now,
I
and we'll just give you credit for it.
All right.
No, you qualify for cool. We grew up in California, by the way, together. There's a lot of backstory here why we're so comfortable with each other. But as you can tell, he's just a really cool guy. Look, anybody with quadruplets is a brother. You have 4 children at one time, you qualify. That's just amazing. That's unbelievable. So as you can tell, he's a really great guy, and he really drove this commitment. And we have a lot of important partners around the country, and I thank all of them for what they're doing. And we couldn't have gotten here without SunTrust and First Tennessee and all Regions and Synovus and the Whole Foods and Hyatt Hotels and even the Atlanta Police Department. We have a Hope Inside there. But this is signature. This is extraordinary. I love the work that you're doing. Great job. That's Ms. May says that. Thank you very much. As you can see, it's live. I'm responding to you in real time. But 200 locations is not playing around, folks. I mean, this is inside using their infrastructure or their bank to light the way to financial well-being for you, to allow you to come in their bank branches, where you start where you stand, finish what Lincoln started in 1865, pivot to Dr. King and the Poor People's Campaign in 1968, where Dr. King said this: you can't legislate goodness. You cannot pass a law to force someone to respect you. The only way to social justice in a capitalist country is economics and ownership. That was King in 1968. He also said that there is more poor whites in America than poor anybody else. So that's why we have these problems in these rural towns where you have high school educated, beautiful, wonderful, high aspirational people who don't understand how to make a middle class living with their hands anymore like you could 50 years ago, and we've not revitalized their economies, and so they're rightly so frustrated. So whether you're black and brown living in urban America or you're white living in rural America, you're experiencing the same kind of financial pain. And if you're middle class today, I guarantee you've got too much money at the end of your money. I guarantee you. You're 70% of this country is living from paycheck to paycheck. So whether you're white, black, red, brown, or yellow, you want to see some more green. And part of the problems we're finding right now, even in the electoral cycle, is that economic pain is starting to morph into all parts of our lives. So here's a bank that says, look, we're concerned about your hypertension. We're concerned about the quality of your marriage. We're concerned about what's going on in your house. You're bringing that stuff to work. You're introducing that in your relationships. You're not able to contribute to society because you're stressed out. So they're concerned about the stress side, and Brad's going to talk more about that. I'm concerned more about the aspiration side. And what Brad can't tell you, and I will, is that because of regulation, because of past sins of the banking and business industry, regulation is now, and risk management is such that they cannot tell you when you would be declined for a loan. I know walking in the door you'd be declined with a 500 credit score. By law, he can't tell you. He's got to process your application and then tell you after all that process, I'm sorry, you can't be approved. He's forced to be in the no business. We're going to help him get in the yes business. Sorry, get back into the yes business, because what he really wants to say in 1,500 branches is yes. That's what he really wants to say. He wants more homeowners. He wants more small business owners. Black, white, red, brown, it doesn't matter the color, urban and rural. Is that right?
It is. The regulators aside, I think a lot of the regulators want the same thing we do, and that's to help more people.
Yes.
And figure out ways to help banks help more people.
But the credit score is a limiting factor, right?
Credit scores are a limiting factor. People don't have emergency savings for a rainy day, and it creates this vicious cycle where they got to go and borrow at high rates, and they can't get out of that cycle. And we, one of the great things about working at SunTrust, you know Bill Rogers, our CEO, really well. He's great thing about working here is leaders that have courage. And Bill kind of put the stake in the ground when we did the Super Bowl ad back in February. You were one of the first people to see that. We gave you a special preview.
That's right.
And he put a stake in the ground to say, we don't want to do this just in Atlanta. We don't want to do this just in Georgia, the Southeast, and Mid-Atlantic. We want to lead a movement and start a conversation across the whole country.
Yes.
And I got pretty fired up about that.
Yes.
Now, what I haven't told you is when Bill put that stake in the ground, 5 million people, we only have 4 million clients and customers.
Wow.
So we had to figure out, I had a lot of people the next day come up and say, well, how are you going to do that? How are you actually going to help 5 million people? How are you going to make money at it? And, it's really, I think it's backwards. Thinking about how do you make money versus how do you help people, I think that equation's backwards. We're convinced that if we help enough people, the word will spread and everything else will take care of itself. The other thing, the partnership, John, and going from 7 to 200 over the next 5 years.
To make that clear, he's saying to go from 7 locations where we have now to 200 locations by 2020.
That's important because it's, and you say this a lot, and it's exactly what the people that have joined the movement have said, is that this it's not a neighborhood problem, it's not a zip code problem, it's not a city problem, it's not a problem for people that make less than $50,000. 3 out of 4 people aren't sleeping well at night.
That's right.
And they're people like you and I that put on suits and ties. They're people that maybe are trying to find their next job. It's paycheck, but it's across all walks of life. And it's an epidemic.
Well,
and it causes stress, and it causes couples that fight about money are 3 times more likely to get divorced.
Yep.
I mean, this is one of the big societal problems I think we have.
And people want to talk about that this is a poor person's issue.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
I mean, if you're watching this video and you're living in Atlanta, you're making $50,000 a year. You're struggling to make ends meet. You're living in New York City. You make $70,000 a year. You're struggling to make ends meet. You used to live in a small town in Alabama, $30,000 a year. You're struggling to make ends meet. You're living in Los Angeles, California. You make $55,000 a year. You're struggling to make ends meet. Whether you're white, black, red, brown, or yellow, you want to see some more green. There's 134 million Americans struggling financially, stressed out. And 1/3 of all Americans would have to sell their car to raise $3,000. And so this is affecting everybody. You can make $100,000 a year and find a way to spend it.
You make more than that, and you can have a bunch of money, but it doesn't really matter how much you have. If you owe more than what you got,
yes,
you got a problem.
Well, somebody once told me when your outflow exceeds your inflow, then your overhead will be your downfall.
I feel like I need a pen and paper to write that down. That's pretty good. I heard that one.
You don't need a pen and paper. You need to give me your net worth. So look,
you want the 4 kids' college tuition? Go with it.
Look, if you can afford to put 4 kids through college at the same time, we know you balling.
Well,
if I got to translate balling for you later, I will. The audience knows what I'm talking about.
No, I spent some time in L.A., John.
That's right.
I'm okay.
He speaks jive too. So look, in a serious note, this is a big and important announcement, and we've been doing media all morning, rolling this out, and I think there's a press release that's on the wires, so if you can go on the press, on the internet, check out the details of it. But I wanted to talk to Facebook Live. I wanted to talk to my clients and my customers and my partners and my friends and members of the Civil Rights Movement. I asked Brad to take a little bit of time to talk to you directly, maybe even ask some questions. Good morning. Forgive me for being late, Garcia says. No, you're not late. I didn't announce it, so you're right on time. I apologize for no notice, right? But if you have questions for Brad, this is a chance to ask a banking leader. This is the guy who runs branch banking for the 10th largest bank in America, which means that he runs the banking network for one of the largest banks in the world because we're the largest economy in the world. So this is a very important guy who will agree to talk to you straight. What's going on with SunTrust? Okay, you came in late, so they're opening 200 Hope Inside locations with us over the next 4.5 years. which is 20% of the 1,000 Hope Inside locations that we've scheduled to open nationwide, to help set you free, to give you financial literacy, to raise your credit score 120 points in 24 months, because nothing changes your life more than God or love than moving your credit score 120 points. Now the bank can get out of the no business and into the yes business by allowing us to work in their branches to then get you ready to become a homeowner. So he can say yes. Detroit, please, Shell says. I don't think they're in Detroit, but who knows? Maybe they'll buy a bank. We have another partner there that may bring this on. Maybe they'll role model what SunTrust has done.
You know what, though, John, I think, over the next, and by the way, thanks for saying 4.5 years, because you're right, 2020, it's really 4 years and 2 months.
Yeah.
And so I have no doubt you're going to hold me accountable to the timeline, and
we'll
get there. But for the person that wrote in from Detroit, yeah, I think by 2020 we're going to be in a situation where having the physical brick and mortar is important. But the work you're doing to build your virtual capabilities.
Right. So they gave us a grant, by the way. Roger Epps in Texas, and here's Amy and somebody else in Austin, Texas. Say, wait, why aren't you guys in Texas? So we're going to have a virtual Hope Inside, because they've just sponsored given us a grant through the SunTrust Foundation to digitize Hope Inside. So we're going to be able to take this on your mobile phone. 83% almost 85% of everybody watching these videos, 15 million people have tuned in over 6 months, have been doing it from your mobile phone. So you're going to have Hope Inside in your pocket soon, thanks to SunTrust.
Right, that's right.
By the way, that benefits everybody, whether you're a SunTrust customer or not. And I think it's really commendable for them to do that, and I want to thank them for that. They've done a lot of stuff that, by the way, benefits the whole banking industry, haven't taken any credit for it. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that this is an example of the morality in banking that we need to return. We need banking to once again become a moral occupation, or an occupation with a moral calling. Because without banking, you don't have the growth of an economy. We have a lot of questions coming in. Hope Inside, yes, Operation Hope, Ms. Derrick, inside of, I know people find this hard to believe it. Yes, we're going inside of SunTrust bank branches and bringing Hope Inside to you inside of wherever. So go to operationhope.org, look at the map. We're becoming the Starbucks of financial inclusion. We're opening a location every week. I'm sure my man wouldn't mind that me saying we just opened up with our partner, First Tennessee and Chattanooga yesterday. And we're opening up with SunTrust. We'll be opening up several locations before the end of this year.
Right.
So go to operationhope.org, go to suntrust.com, go to onup.com. Can you Mobile? Awesome. So I guess they think we're coming to Mobile, I guess, aren't we?
Well, we're in Florence, Alabama, but not quite Mobile yet.
Okay, Florence, Alabama. How about Minnesota? Toya says. You're not in Minnesota, are you?
Well, here's the thing. We actually do business now across all 50 states.
Wow. Okay.
Now we don't have branches in all 50 states, but we have operations we have a company in San Diego, California called Lightstream, where we can do online unsecured loans.
Wow. Okay.
My partner in crime, Mark Chansey, in our commercial and wholesale business group, we've got operations now in Houston and Dallas. And so I think part of this journey that we're going to be on is trying to figure out how do we spread the word, how do we spread the capabilities across the country, not just in our traditional footprint. Yeah,
Dave from I think he said Fort Lauderdale, asked, are we coming there? We will have Florida on lockdown. We're already in Tampa and Orlando and a couple other places. I think you have to worry about Florida. Denver, Colorado is asking. I think, again, where it's a physical branch, that's Thomas Muhammad L. Whether in a physical branch or whether it's the digital platform, I think you'll see that we will meet you where you are. And so what's the deal? How is SunTrust going to be any different than anybody else? Is David? Well, I just told you they're putting us in their branches. Well, that's a difference in and of itself. What else? What other bank do you know of that's got a nonprofit in its bank branch that's doing credit counseling and helping you to prepare you to be an entrepreneur, small business owner? I mean, one thing you got to do, folks, you got to decide that the glass is half full, not half empty. If you want to be cynical, you can do that. Do that someplace else. You can just step off my page. I can't solve all your problems, but I can meet you where you are. And it's not a bank's business to be a saint. It's not a bank's business to be a church. It's not a bank is a commercial enterprise, and their business is to make money and the value for their shareholders. It is commendable that this bank has partnered a nonprofit to bring these branches, to bring OpenSide into its locations, and to try to help meet you where you are, and to realize that a 500 credit score is not bankable. They got to get you to 650, and they're helping us to get you to 650 so they can then say yes to you. So that's the answer to your question, and you should want to go in and first of all say thank you, but send them a letter, by the way, and say thank you. Brad Dinsmore is his name, Bill Rogers is the CEO. But go in and take your life back. Don't give up before you try. Like then everybody who's rallying against you wins, because we've actually lost hope. What about Fayetteville, North Carolina?
Well, we're in Fayetteville now. We haven't figured out all the different locations where we're going to expand, and part of this is going to be learning how our customers want to access us.
Otis says glasses half full. There you go, Otis.
All right, I like the half full.
And somebody just said, asked, was SunTrust employees be engaged in the platform? Yeah, they are. I'm going to ask Brad to talk about what's going on with OnUp, right?
Yeah.
So there you go, Brad.
So I think OnUp, this is the movement that we've been talking about to help 5 million people across the country, 5 million people across the country go from stress to confidence. And we figured out pretty quickly we couldn't do it on our own.
Yep.
And as you know, you were the first phone call that I made to say, hey, can we talk about how do we do this together?
Yep.
Because this isn't about helping people that have money or not have. It's about helping everybody, giving everybody access to the resources. And our teammates are all in on this OnUp movement. We've had more than 25,000 teammates sign up to join the movement. Mm-hmm. 700,000 people across the country are signed up to join the movement. And so OnUp.com is kind of the place to get started. And I think this could kind of change. I appreciate the comment why SunTrust will be any different, but we recognize banking as we've got some repair work to do.
Yeah.
We want to be out in front of that.
Yeah.
And we figure if we can do the right thing, which is kind of a core thing for SunTrust, it's been our core value for a long time, is to put our clients first. If we can really demonstrate how that works, the rest will take care of itself.
We're getting a lot of great comments. David says, I'm not cynically, literally, I'm totally a believer and doer. Just needed help switching banks. So you might have got a new bank customer.
Come on in.
So David, thanks for that. Sorry, I thought you were being cynical. My apologies. This is going to be a tremendous vision for 2020. One of the commenters said, the comments coming in really fast, so my apologies. Andrea, will you also be counseling people about how to obtain and build business credit the right way for new entrepreneurs? Yes. Some of the locations will focus on home ownership, some will focus on small business. All of them will do 700 credit score communities. So the answer is yes. It'll be consumer focused, small business focused, home ownership focused, but you focused in every respect. I want, before we wrap up, and I'm going to take some of these comments off veterans. Yes, Kenny, we will be focused on veterans, absolutely. I want to do some of these comments offline. I'm going to give Brad access. He can also go to my page offline and comment. Thank you for being you. Thank you, Dante Page. Appreciate that. So we can do this offline because there's so many coming in so quickly. But let's get personal for a minute. Will this be in New York? I don't think that they're in New York. Their presence is southeast.
And we have branches all the way up through Maryland and Washington, D.C. We have commercial operations in New York and Boston. So, as I said before, part of this is figuring out how do we partner together and help people across the country.
Yeah. There are people literally like Oklahoma City. People, this Porter, like put Oklahoma City on your list, please. So people are listing where they want.
You can go to onup.com right now. You do not have to live in our traditional footprint to go to onup.com.
Yeah.
And if you want to bank with us, you don't have to bank with us, by the way, to join the movement. Mm-hmm. But if you want to bank with us, you can sign up online at suntrust.com.
Yeah.
Today.
So you don't have to bank with SunTrust to benefit from these services, right?
You don't have to bank with SunTrust to benefit from the services. You don't have to live in our footprint. And by the way, if you don't live in our footprint, you can still bank with us.
Yeah.
You go online. We have about 15% of the new relationships we build are online and never come into a branch because they don't need to.
Yeah.
They get their money through other ATMs and grocery stores and make their deposits using your smartphone.
Yeah. Terrence Jackson said Covington, Georgia, and
Oh yeah.
so we'll be
Yeah.
serving that area. So look, let me get personal for a minute. I'm going to ask Brad, because I know it's in his heart, to give me a personal sense of why he drove this movement, why it's important to him. Is there any legacy in this? Is this personal at all, or is this just business? But let me tell you what's personal to me, and I've not said this to any of the other media people. Not everybody realizes the value of urban America, or they may dismiss or push aside the value of African Americans or Latinos as contributors, or poor whites in the Appalachians, or poor anybody in rural Georgia, thinking that only people who drive Mercedes and wear fancy suits and have a business card are somehow contributors to society. And not only is that not true, it's not even the American story. The American story is that people with nothing came to this country with a dream because they were being oppressed other places in the world. And they came with an immigrant story to what we call Ellis Island, all but black folks who got on the wrong boat, and Native American Indians who got their rear end kicked. But you know, this was not a sexy story in America. This was a hard scrabble story. In fact, Brad's if he goes back 5 generations, he would admit that his ancestors had dirt underneath their nails, not the manicured nails that we have. 5 generations ago, 4 generations ago, my ancestors were on slave plantations. So we only, but the grace of God go we both been blessed, but both of our lives were enhanced because somebody worked those fields, somebody who did unsexy jobs, hustled, struggled. Where's your family from ethnically, by the way?
From Ireland. My great grandfather was a potato farmer.
Potato famine, right?
Yes. Why am I so passionate about this? My dad was a World War II hero, and it was on the D-Day and that kind of thing. And
Yep.
He and my mom, I had great parents, but they didn't plan. They didn't have anybody around to help them.
Yep.
And they worked really hard. They had jobs their whole life, and when they tried to retire at 65, they ran out of money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because they didn't work hard. It was because when they got sick and they didn't have a plan in place, they couldn't live the life the way they wanted to.
Yes.
And, my brothers and I had to work our way through college, and all that's fine. But the lesson it taught me, he went back to work at 69.
Wow.
Because he didn't have any more money.
Wow. Your father?
And my dad did, yeah. And unfortunately, he passed at 71, and I wasn't far enough in my career yet to be able to help them.
Yeah.
I wish I always regret that.
Yes.
But I always said that if I ever got a chance to be part of something, a movement like this that is focused on trying to help people never be in that situation.
Yes.
Because it's, you work your whole life, and everybody's got a different circumstance.
Yes.
But so many of us share in this problem of stress.
Yes.
And I think this is, you said, it's history. I think this could kind of bend the arc of history if we could start to solve some of these problems that people face. And I don't think it's John. I don't think there's anybody else out there that's going to do it. I know you're committed to it. We're, Bill, and we're committed to it. And
Yes.
we often say, if we don't do it, if we don't do it together, who's going to do it? If not
That's
us,
right.
then who?
That's right. And every big movement started with some common person with an uncommon commitment to other people. I mean, the potato famines in Ireland was painful. It caused a whole generation of people to leave Ireland and come to America and other places to try to find a better life. So your parents are literally, I didn't know his story, right? But look, you see him dressed like this and he's doing well, and you think he's always been rich, he's always been successful. No, he came from humble beginnings, and he's really, to this day, in some ways, paying it forward from a family that he could not help as much as he wanted to. So now he's trying to help you in a way to level this whole thing out. And my mom and dad struggled, and like you, my dad couldn't take care of himself. He retired and was because he was financially illiterate, he'd make $1 and spend $1.50. The more money he made, the broker we got.
Yeah.
And we owned a gas station. For those of you in Los Angeles, it was a gas station. It's still there at Vernon and Western. You know where that is.
I do.
On the southeast corner. We owned a nursery. We owned an 8-unit apartment building on Martin Luther King Boulevard. It used to be called Santa Barbara. And we owned our own home, and we lost it all because my dad could make it but couldn't keep it. Yeah. And he didn't know how to bid a job. He was in the cement contracting business. And he was too ashamed, too proud to admit that he didn't understand. And Ambassador Young says that men and women fail for 3 reasons: arrogance, pride, and greed.
My dad had the same thing. He didn't go to college because he went to the war. And when he came back, he had to start working. And I think that pride thing was, he's a very proud person and not too proud to go back to work at 69.
Yes.
He was a maitre d' at age 69. And I'll never forget, he'd put on his tuxedo and go. And boy, if we can help people write the last couple of chapters of their life and live them the way they want to live them, I don't know. Lots of people can work for banks or work for other organizations, but to work for, be part of something, this movement that could actually change and change how people end up spending their lives, that's pretty cool.
Now, and that's beautiful. He said he wants to help you rewrite the last few chapters of your life. And it really isn't that what this is all about. I was with Ambassador Andrew Young last night, who was Dr. King's right arm in the civil rights movement, my mentor. And he said, you can think yourself out of poverty. You can think yourself out of poverty. This next movement's from the neck up, not the shoulders down. And we've got to have a movement in the suites, civil rights, and not just a movement in the streets, civil rights. We need civil rights, but we need civil rights too. And we need to understand this is about, thank you, great start, Anthony Jenkins says. We need to have a movement that's about class and poverty, which we can solve, and not race and the color line, which we can't solve. And while we have, different races and come from different places, Brad and I just talked about, without knowing it, the same story. Yeah. It's up from nothing. It's struggling. It's disappointment. It's heartbreak. It's seeing your parents not have as much as you'd want them to have, but watching them rewrite the story, the last few chapters of their life. My dad rewrote the last couple chapters of his life. My mother went back to high school at age 62 and got her high school equivalency. And marched with cap and gown with 18-year-olds.
That's awesome.
And so this is possible, folks. You can change your life. You can live your dream. And banking can be an honorable profession. And rainbows do follow storms. And every big business was once a small one. SunTrust Banks was once, it's a roll-up of a number of different
Trust Company of Georgia and Sun Bank of Florida and Crestar up in the Mid-Atlantic, and many other banks that kind of all started with the premise that if you put the client first and take care of your communities, that the business will come to you.
But it started with one guy way back when with a dream, with a small banking enterprise, and I think it was the early 1900s. Or late 1800s.
Yeah, it actually goes back to the 1800s.
1800s.
We just celebrated our 150th anniversary.
So, look, the good guys and the good girls sometimes do win, right? And this is a new model for corporate America. I don't know of any bank in the history, I don't know of any corporation in the history of America that's ever used its platform to lift up society. I mean, yes, they can do, a charity event for a day or a week or a month, but they're baking this into the business model of how they do business. They want to prove you can do well and do good. Good news has arrived, Drake says, Parker. That you can do well and do good, do well by doing good, that you can lift people up, and they're going to be a trailblazer, and I think history will serve them well. I want to end where I started. I want to commend SunTrust, but I also want to thank all the others that collaborated. I know Brad joins me with this. Synovus Bank and Regions Bank and First Tennessee Bank, a major partner, Fulton Bank and Bank of the West and Union Bank and Whole Foods and Atlanta Police Department and all the heroes and sheroes and partners, PNC Bank and all of them that helped Huntington Bank is coming on our move. And I think for some of those who asked in Detroit, we're coming to Detroit, in Flint, Michigan with them. See, this is not a competitive thing, right? He didn't flinch when I mentioned another bank's name, right? He's like, look.
We can't do it by ourselves, right? We can't do it by ourselves. And if you're really committed, like I know you are, to making it, to a change in the way, the lives of people, that you recognize it's not about competition, because we can't do it by ourselves.
Amen. This has been the Church of What's Happening Now, and what have you done for me lately? It's the first time you saw an interview with a banker and got emotional. This is a cool guy. It's a cool place. This is a historic day. I'm honored that I was able to share it with you. SunTrust is amazing, and Operation Hope we can build in numbers. This is Peter Hilliard said that. So thank you all for joining in spontaneously. I may do a couple more videos on this because it's just such an important announcement. You have been sitting in a moment in history. This is Civil Rights, Straight Talk series with John Hope Bryant, Unbought and Unbossed, Unbiased, coming you straight at no chaser, with the Civil Rights Movement, and Facebook Live, and believing in you and your potential. And here announcing once again, SunTrust Banks today has announced a partnership to expand Hope Inside locations to 200 of their branches, from 7 to 200 by the year 2020. Go to operationhope.org, go to suntrust.com, on onup.com, and sign up today to take your life back. Anything else in closing, Brad?
I don't know how to follow that. That's awesome. I appreciate your partnership and your friendship.
Well, we love you, and we'll see you in a Hope Inside soon.